GM everyone, how are we all? Thursday, the 8th of Feb. Altcoin requests live. GM, alright. How are we all? Good? Excellent. GM's flying in here. GM. Alright. So, this will be a long one. Probably. We're going to hit an all-time high. Can you please clarify whether you had a shower last night or not? Of course I did. And today we have I think that could be a new record for number of alts requested. So, not waste any time, I'll get cracking straight into it. So I'll try to keep this under 12-hour stream. Alright, GM, let's go. Shiny Rock, GM. AKT on the Bitcoin pair. Excellent. What better place to start? Let's go for it. AKT. So, AKT Bitcoin pair. Weekly. Looking good there. Yeah, so continues to consolidate after it's been on a dominance run against Bitcoin, outperforming Bitcoin since May 23. Higher highs, higher lows all the way. Consolidating at the highs, just like the US dollar pair is, compressing. And even as Bitcoin is pumping, it's still holding up pretty well. So it's having multiple. So this first week of the year, it's had 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's on its 5th inside week. So compressing within that range. Whichever side that breaks should produce a big move. Since we're in an uptrend and we're earlier stage, I expect that to be to the upside. So yeah, AKT looking good. You'll still struggle to find a better chart than AKT in crypto at the moment. Because everyone views these charts as what's pumping right now is the best chart. This is so fucking bullish. It makes me feel sick. Because it has, at each stage, moved up, pumped, but not gone into like blow off top, no exhaustion, not like showing any reversal signs. And then it stops, and then it goes sideways. No deep pullbacks. Any pullbacks we've had have been into the weekly bands. They've held higher, consolidate, higher, consolidate, higher. And now we're, again, 3, 4, 5 weeks consolidating up at these higher levels. To me, it's just a great chart. I don't know if it goes up to the moon from here, necessarily. I also wouldn't be surprised to see it go sideways along here for a bit and then up. But to be honest, this is pretty much perfect. Inverse head and shoulders, under, over, whatever you want to call it. It's broke the structure there. It's holding. To me, it needs to get above $3 for that to be in play. And if it does so, I'd be expecting a breakout. It also touched its 100 or 50 EMA and should make a new high from that. So yeah, best coin in the market. Best coin in the world. People just don't realize it yet. It's still slept on. I see people shilling Render like crazy. I see people shilling BitTensor like crazy. They're the other two big AI coins. I don't see anyone shilling AKT, which is, to me, is mega bullish when you look at the charts. Like, you just compare them side by side. There's Akash. There's Render. Right? And there's BitTensor. So BitTensor is in this phase where it's already getting massively hyped, and this chart doesn't scream accumulation to me, right? This chart screams trend, hype, but it's literally very inefficient and it's super illiquid. And so the fact everyone's got really excited about Tau over here, I get it, right? Price is pumping, but the sooner it does that, the more it goes like that, the more parabolic it gets, the worse it's going to be when it ends. I would love to see nothing more than for this to sell off and go sideways and cool off for a bit for a reaccumulation, but it's hard because it's so illiquid. It's really easy for whales to pump it, and they're pumping it, and you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like Akash. Wilhelm, Rose, GM. So, weekly chart. That's pretty good, I would say. Rose, as long as it stays above this level here, is fine. I think that's pretty simple. Rose looks pretty much like Total 3 does. Right? It started to rally up whenever the total altcoin cap rallied up. It's consolidating roughly the same as it did. And so, as long as it doesn't lose that level, and it stays, ideally, kind of contains itself on the bands, right, on the weekly bands, next breakout should be able to leg it up a bit. Don't know anything about it. Like, I obviously do know. I know about the project, but it's not like something that I'm deeply invested in. So, is it good? I don't know. But chart seems good as long as it stays in this area. Most of these, I mean, topping out at late December, we're now 6-7 weeks later. It's long enough. There are definitely coins here that have consolidated long enough and can go for bigger breakouts. Chainlink being one of them, kind of showing the path, but this is a good example of why you don't get bullish on something into the highs and into a breakout. Not when the market's so bullish, right? Because don't you remember just like 3 days ago when everyone, all they could talk about was how good Chainlink was, and suddenly people have already given up and forgotten it. There's such a bad case of liquidity fragmentation here that as a trader, you absolutely cannot be getting bullish when things break out. You just can't. You can't wait until here to get bullish. Not at this stage. We had that one big breakout back in October because everyone was in disbelief. Apart from that, false breakouts are the name of the game. There's a false breakout, there's a false breakout. Buy the support, right? Here's what looks like a confirmed breakout, but it looks like it's losing momentum already. Wouldn't be surprised if Chainlink comes all the way back down. I don't mind Chainlink. I like Chainlink, right? Chainlink's fine, but it's just so much more difficult right now than it was several weeks ago. And when I say difficult, it's not actually that difficult. You just have to remind yourself, don't fucking buy stuff on a breakout unless you've got a tested system that gives you entries. And just keep it really simple. There's not going to be any free lunch for the next few months in the market because there isn't new money coming in at a rapid pace. If it is coming in, it's going straight into Bitcoin ETFs. The real sideline capital and the money flows into crypto are going to come this year. Right? This year is certainly the year where they're going to flow in, but they're not coming in right away. So the only reason you get a free ride on this long is because price had been an accumulation for like 18 months, and then it was breaking out, and sideline capital was saying, okay, it's bottomed out. Bottomed in June, high, low. A low, high, a higher low, and we broke out to a higher high. We broke out. That was the one time you get a clean breakout to buy. You're not going to get clean breakouts. It's just not going to happen on any of these major coins because everyone tries to do the same thing. They're fearful here and they don't want to buy at the lows, and so they try and buy the breakout. They're like, oh, maybe this time it'll work. You can go back test this, and I suggest everyone does. Breakouts have an extremely high failure rate, which doesn't mean that you can't trade. What I just said is alpha in itself, right? If breakouts are far more likely to happen, then go and take a bunch of systems and figure out, okay, what should I do when there's a breakout? This is what my logic was with both Link and also with Blur, right? I talked about not buying this breakout on Blur like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, because it was the first attempt, right? So we set a high. That was the first attempt to break out. And I said, I'm not going to buy that. I'll buy when it goes back to what's known as support, which is there. And I'll still wait for that if it hits down into that alert. Maybe it's bottoming here, right? Maybe that's the bottom and it's going to moon from there. If it does, fine. There's a million other coins I can trade. But the thing that I avoided was buying the breakout. Because anyone who bought that breakout on the 16th of January, they're now suffering. They're suffering from opportunity cost So they've either bought and been stopped out, so they've lost money, or they bought spot and they're now sitting down 20% or whatever, and watching as Bitcoin pumps and their bags are down. Opportunity cost. So, a really simple rule of thumb. Just expect every first breakout to fail. It doesn't mean they will, but start with that as your base. At this stage of the market. The next time, and it's not like I know when this is going to be, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I had the PEPE crystal ball that I put on the screen. You know, I wish I was this guy. Where is it? I wish that was me, but unfortunately that's my quant. That's my Asian quant. So before we get into this dreadful looking chart, the next time that there's going to be a breakout that doesn't fail, and I don't mean like for every single coin, but at the market as a whole, is going to be when there's some kind of massive injection of liquidity from one source or another. That's either going to be like the Fed announcing that they're going to end QT. It could be another like a BTFP type of thing like they did in March 2023, where they said, you know, banking crisis, we're going to print money or we're going to backstop and bail out the banks or support them. If there's a major whatever, right, there has to be some type of major bullish catalyst. And at the time, I'll tell you, I'll show you. If there's some fundamental shift that nukes the dollar down to $100, down from 104 to 102, that sends bond yields crashing, that sends gold to the moon, there will be some kind of impulse at some point that does that, and that's when we'll see a rapid shift in the supply-demand dynamics of any good altcoins, and they'll probably leave a gap to where they don't come back. But that's so rare, right? I just want to stress that. I mean, where do we look at it? Which coins can we look at? I'll look at Link from last cycle. Alright, so it's easy to go back and see all the times where there was bullish moves, but go back and look at all the times that there were false breakouts or kind of just generally false starts. Yeah. So So we'll look at it from here, because basically at this level, Link was just criminally undervalued, right? And then so Link moved up to here. This is still in the bear market, going into the bull. Yeah. So it had to do a 9-month range where it was just chopping sideways. So why did it go for 9 months? Or sorry, it was actually a year, wasn't it? June to June. Yeah, it went for 12 months. Stuck inside that range. Because there needed to be something to shift it into higher levels. But after that 12 months, Link was ready to move and never come back. Right? That was your like one big breakout where price never returned to. Then, right, so that one breakout. Then, in July, August, we had another massive breakout, but guess what? Came all the way back. Didn't come back to this one. There's always going to be one or two instances where breakout traders get a free ride and it never goes back. Their entries are safe. But that's very rare, right? To put it mildly. And then after that, it gets a lot choppier all the way. This breakout here, right? So you've got one breakout here, which fails. When I say fails temporarily, right? Breaks out, flushes back below. Another breakout, back below. Another breakout, back below. Then it pushes up here, comes all the way back to there. Then we have yet another breakout, back below. And then Chainlink goes up into its ultimate all-time high. So to people who are just trying to trade breakouts and expecting it not to come back, the odds are completely stacked against you. That's just the nature of the markets. And again, that's not a bad thing. You now know this. So adapt. So Mosaic, I mean, that's fucking dreadful. Am I looking at the right chart? I know I am, because we looked at it before. So let's hope it does this, right? I talked about this whenever we did it last. I don't know. I think it was probably last week we did Mosaic. And I said that in these, technicals, very simple price action technicals work on these shitcoins. So it broke the very simple uptrend. Does that mean this trend line's magic? No, it's a visualization of an uptrend. What happens when that breaks? Well, we're not in an uptrend. What do you also have? A market structure break, right? So you've double. So it was going up, then it broke, and now it's going down. So just wait for the inverse to happen, like I draw here. We're still waiting. It's still down, it's down, it's down. So if it bounces again, guess what? Expect a lower high, and a lower high, and a lower high, and a lower high. Eventually, it'll start doing the opposite. And that's where you want to start looking at longs. Do you call me a moon boy? ORAI, do you think it can break all-time high? I mean, it's nowhere near all-time high, so can it break it? It's not doing a great job of it so far. It's not even able to break out of its, I'd like it to fucking break 2023 high first, which most coins have done. So, and it hasn't even got close to its 2021 or 2022 highs, which 2021, 2022 was over here. I mean, it doesn't look great, to be honest. It's off the lows, sure, but ORAI chain, I'm going to be just, it just seems like, is this just another blockchain with no real differentiator? DeFi lens, simplified token research, broadcast, trustworthy proofs, IBC enabled layer 1, experience AI driven innovation. Yeah. Nothing really exciting about that. It's just yet another blockchain. There's too many. We have too many layer 1 blockchains, so I don't know how it competes. Yeah. It can have its time, right? It's not to say it can't. And, low and a high and a higher low. It needs to make a higher high. Like, I don't think this is going to go to zero or go to new lows, but do I think it's going to outperform? To me, it doesn't seem like it. At least right now, the market's saying like the timing isn't right. That doesn't mean the timing can't be right in future. It could just be in the process of accumulation. But you'd have to understand the project well to know when it might be able to move. FA, WorldCoin. WorldCoin, I don't think anything's changed. Yeah, broken chart because of bad tokenomics. Not much. So same thing I said before about Mosaic, right? It's going down. So wait for it to stop going down. At that point, it'll probably go sideways. And then try and get it when it starts to go up again. It's really not much more complex than that. Trended down, broke the downtrend, enter over here somewhere, trended up, broke the uptrend, same again. That's it really, right? If you see any crazy pumps off of just randomly, expect them to get sold into. You want to see it actually bottom out, go sideways, reverse, and then start to look at longs. But on the high time frames, you go to the weekly, you look at zoomed out, you've got a low down here, you've got a high up here. I'm sure it'll form a higher low somewhere in there. So WorldCoin can go up again. I'm sure it will go up again. It'll be extremely reflexive, right? It'll be a very reflexive asset. Certainly wouldn't be a coin I would hold though. Like, I'm not bullish on WorldCoin the project necessarily. I think the tokenomics are just terrible. WG Mahalo, yes, I was half joking when I said that, but I know that 4 is considered unlucky. I wasn't half joking. I was fucking fully joking. Where is my? Yeah, I know. Obviously, I wasn't. That's not my basis for in trading and investing. It was just a bit of fun. But the Chinese obviously didn't like 44,444, did they? Because they pumped it all the way past. Adam, I need you to take 2 or 3 showers a day until Bitcoin reaches 70. AIOZ. There's a fucking shit coin. So this is one where chart looks good, right? Chart looks great, but how much real organic demand is there here? Very little. This is a case study in liquidity, right? The fact it's just bleeding all the way to zero. As I talked about, here's what a good coin looks like. I always go back to a cash because it's the best example, right? Here's what a good coin looks like that has actual accumulation going on. It bottoms out and it slowly grinds up and slowly makes higher highs and higher lows, or forms a bottoming range, trades within it, breaks out of it, and then just keeps going up, right? Your coin doesn't have to look like that, but it's better if it does. When it looks like this, to me, this is very clear. There's no interest here. No one's accumulating there. This isn't accumulation. This is lack of liquidity, right? There's just no coins on the market. And any that are there, anyone who's dumping them and selling them, they're getting absorbed by probably just one market maker or one whale, one entity. Don't know if it's DWF or someone else on this one. But any of these just death bleeds, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a fucking huge pump, and then it ignites interest. It's just very trappy. It's trappy. Like, I want to invest in something or trade something that I feel like the market's going to carry it for me. From my experience, when I look at coins like this, I think the market doesn't care about this. This AIOZ, right? What happened in November? Did it suddenly get 13 times better? Did the tech improve by 13x? No. This is low liquidity manipulation. And now that it's pumped up, the people will get interested. But are they actually going to get interested to... So the way I would look at it is any serious investor going to get interested in this because it pumped 13x in 2 weeks? No. Because they know what this is. It's manipulation. And so, if I want to buy this, who's going to push it higher? To me, the risk of just getting dumped on by some unknown market maker or some unknown whale is too high. I just can't trade these kind of... I can trade them. You can trade the momentum, sure. But I couldn't buy and hold anything like that. Deep shit. GM. Link. Already did link. Degenerate Gambling Fox. Monero. So Monero got delisted from Binance. Had to drop down. I would be very, very confident that's a bottom, right? When you get something like this dumping into support with a huge negative catalyst like getting delisted of Binance, massive shorting, massive just negativity in general, that when we look back, a year from now, I'd be very confident that's the bottom of Monero. However, short term, it all just becomes a trading game. So yesterday there was a short squeeze up. Now there's just more consolidation. There was a couple of failed attempts to break out. It dropped back. It's just going to consolidate. I don't think it goes any lower than this. And I think eventually, after probably, you want to see these bands getting a bit closer together, right? They're still very widely spread. So I would say it needs to, if it can start to find itself a bit of consolidation around like this, and it flips the bands, I think that's when you'll see a bigger move. But it could also just drop down and chop around for a while. You never know what way these moves are going to go. But I would say, when we look back, that'll be the bottom of Monero, because I've always said every time someone requests Monero is not a trader's coin. Monero is an actual coin with utility, right? People use Monero for privacy purposes. So I would look at that and say, I think, and I don't use Monero, right? But I know a lot of people do, and they actually use it. So if I was a Monero bull, or like just a Monero maxi, and I actually use Monero for all of my completely... I'm sure all those guys who are Monero maxis are doing completely legal, above board, halal practices. I'm sure of it. If I was one of those people, which I'm definitely not, I would be buying loads of Monero here, right? Because think of it this way: if you like, Monero is a coin that the people who are bullish on it think it's like actual money, right? To them, it's money. It's privacy money. So if all that happened was Binance delisted it, but you still see it as privacy money, and it went from 160 to 110, wouldn't you load the boat? I know I certainly would. I don't believe in Monero necessarily. I like what they do. I full fucking could not agree more with having, you know, privacy, censorship resistant, private transactions, all that. Like, I like all that. I'm a fan of all that. I don't hold any Monero is my point, but I can certainly see why maxis would want to buy it. Right? This is not like some shitcoin has like a bunch of VCs dumping on you, or has like stupid token inflation, or a scammy team, or a rug pull. This is a legit project that's been around for fucking 10 years, right? And I'm sure that there's buyers of this willing to scoop it up here and hold it. I would be very surprised if they weren't. Cox MATIC. I really hate MATIC. It's such a fucking, such a shit coin. To me, until proven otherwise, this is still just one enormous fucking bearish pennant on MATIC, right? So until that something changes, this is a bearish chart after a bearish impulse doing a bearish consolidation that will go to fucking zero. It'll probably get saved by the bull market, right? Like, if we have a proper bull market for the next 12 months, you know, MATIC's not going to go there. There's going to be enough hype and enough fucking moon boys and all that to push MATIC up, sorry, but I really don't think, I just don't see how MATIC goes to all-time highs again. It's just a shit project with a shit team and a shit protocol, and everything about it is shit. All they do is just keep changing who they are. They're literally like, they're constantly fucking pivoting, or we're doing a layer 2 now, we're doing this, doing that, to the point where it's become a meme online. Where every time something, some new narrative pops up, people will say, MATIC just announced, you know, like, whatever. Fucking, Bonk, I think it was in Bonk was pumping, somebody tweeted saying, MATIC has just announced that it's now a dog. And that's the best way of describing MATIC. They just keep trying to chase every narrative. And, I mean, it doesn't interest me, to be honest. Mim, you broke the only rule I have, Mim, which is one request only, please. As you can see, I've got 10,000 to do, so. HK1 render. I'll go to the KuCoin chart because you can see the full price history. I think render needs more time, right? I think this is it was a really nice move up, and that was the start of a consolidation. So very simple for me. There's actual weekly support. I wouldn't worry too much about weekly resistance. Resistance is weak in a bull market. Support is strong. But I would say as long as it can hold there and probably revisits there again maybe once, I would say that it can build a base here from which it makes its run towards all-time highs. That run will need a catalyst. So Render had a big catalyst last week with the Apple Vision Pro. And Render, because you know, one of the a bunch of people are making using the Render network to perform jobs or tasks or build things or whatever for the Apple Vision Pro for VR. That wasn't able to make it even break out, which is fine. I like the fact that it hasn't broke out yet. It means more bullish consolidation, and I would expect it to go higher from here, but you know, it depends on the market, right? You don't want to see this necessarily just ripping to all-time highs here, because if it goes straight from here to all-time highs without any more consolidation, it's not really a sustainable pump, as you can see. Like in 2021, it just fucking pumped 3 weeks, just went way too high, way too fast, and that was it. It couldn't sustain. You want to see things trend up, consolidate, trend up, consolidate, sell off, make a new high, consolidate. The longer it consolidates, the better. That's a sign of a base, an actual base being built. And if Render's going to be a legit, you know, AI/DeepIn play this cycle, I would like to see it show that by having much more of a real coin price action, which is like consolidations move up, not like pumping 5x in a day like this. Because back then, Render just was a hype token, hype project, right? It wasn't. It was just a white paper, right? It was all built on hype and metaverse and VR and all that. And now they're actually stuck around and they're building and there's real stuff happening, so it can actually fulfill its promise. So yeah, I think Render will go to all-time high eventually. Mr. Robot, Pendle. Pendle, up only. Future of finance. Pendle's liquid staking, isn't it? Restaking. I'm sure we've looked at this before. I know it fits the staking narrative anyway. So, you know, price-wise, it's probably already done most of its current move. Yeah, liquid staking. Obviously, you really couldn't buy it here. Had a nice move up and consolidated into a breakout. You'd need to see quite a lengthy, like usually what happens now for people is they buy in here and they don't necessarily suffer with price. I mean, they will, right? They will go down 30 or 40% at some point, but it's mostly time they suffer with. And then it goes again. Like Caspa is a good example of this. Caspa had a really good breakout last year, right over here. It moved up, breakout, and that was the 13th of November. So that's December, January, February. That's almost 3 months now. For anyone who got excited about Caspa in this week, they've all just been fucking struggling. 13 weeks of opportunity cost. That's what that's what I would expect from any coin that just has a massive pump for a few weeks. That would be what I would expect. So really, in my mind, there's only two ways this can go. Anytime a coin does this, it's either a piece of shit, bounces low or sells off lower high and then bleeds if it's a scam, or if it's legit, it consolidates and chops around for a while and then goes up. So in both cases, what's the best course of action? Just wait, right? I am, again, I don't know where Pendle's going to go, but I do know that the probabilities are at some point it will pull back, and then you'll find out, is it legit, green path, or is it a piece of shit, red path? That's the simplest way to approach these ones. And it avoids you getting trapped into coins after they've pumped. Jaeger, GM. CGPT. Chain GPT. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice chart, to be honest. I would say this is probably going to make a move, and you got the listing highs. There's your target. That'll be like your pivot if it gets there. Yeah, I mean, I don't see much standing in the way of it doing that. I'm guessing it's an AI project, right? Chain GPT, so yeah, looks fine. Upward sloping accumulation after a move off the lows. There's not a whole lot that I wouldn't have much of a problem with that. It looks pretty good. That being said, you can just do that, right? And then continue the consolidation. It doesn't mean that like buying here is going to be like the best place to buy. It can still come back down. I would say if you're watching these upward sloping charts, you want to be buying on the bands or as close to them as possible on whatever time frame it is, whether it's a daily or a weekly. If you even go to the daily here, you'll see the same thing, right? In the daily, all the touches of the bands are your best chances. Breaks below the bands, reclaims them. For me, I wouldn't buy it up here, right? Could be a false breakout. Maybe it's a real breakout, but I think in the short term, there's more risk. But overall, I think it's probably quite easy to pump that, and it'll probably go to all-time high at some point. Grill, Phantom. Phantom, I just don't see where it fits in this cycle. To me, Phantom's just another layer one. And so far the market agrees. It's not even been able to break out of its bear market range. So it's still in a bear market range. And then when you look at that, okay, it's in a bear market range, and therefore the middle of that range is here, and it's below that midpoint. So it's not even below its midpoint of its bear market range. I would need to see a lot more strength from Phantom. If it moves up to here and starts to consolidate in that area, that would probably, to me, signal some kind of potential on the breakout. Otherwise, I just think the market's going to move on from this, right? This is a 2021 hype coin. I think the market's going to say, yeah, Phantom was great, we had a good run, but let's pump other shit. Let's pump Celestia and fucking Dimension and Monad and all these newer, shinier objects that are coming up. That's generally how I view these type of events and moves. Because any of the ones like the Solana is the obvious one, right? Solana was the exact same as Phantom. It was a 2021 hype coin. Yet Solana clearly left all that behind. Injective was a 2021 hype, right? 2021 left all that behind. So, question is, why have they done that and Phantom hasn't? To me, that's the market voting. Dodi, Sol Bitcoin, Sol BTC is a nice chart. Yeah, really nice consolidation after a run up. I've been saying this now for a while. I would like to see more of this. I think it probably needs to. I'm still of the opinion, like I said this morning, I'm still of the opinion that Bitcoin's the best coin by far. It's got all the catalyst. We're in the halving year, and there's a lot of sideline money that's going to come back in. There's a lot of people waiting to get in, and then there's all the ETF flows. You know, all the smartest people that I know that are still getting into the markets, they all do the same thing. They first go into the majors. They go into Bitcoin, into ETH. And of course, you could say this cycle, maybe into Solana as well. But I think Bitcoin's the big focus, followed by ETH. And, you know, that's one of these... That's just the way people will behave until Bitcoin breaks all-time high. And that's when people really start to... You know, that's when you see Bitcoin dominance peak. That's when you see the altcoin BTC charts bottom. And then it goes up only from there for the alts for a little while. So, Sol's doing great. You can't fault this. Great chart. Strong. Trending up. Trend looks good. But the actual weekly market structure based on closes is all the way down there, right? So, Sol BTC can still chop around and still be forming a higher low and take a bit longer than people think. And then when it goes, we know it can just go, right? Once it has its move, it'll move fast. So, I would still lean towards a bit more consolidation needed. I mean, Cardano. It looks alright. I'm not a big Cardano fan, in case you didn't know, as if I need to say that. It does have a cult community, which is good. I mean, I don't think Cardano goes lower, right? I don't think it goes to new lows. They do have a community of bag holders who will buy and they'll never sell. That's bullish, right? Whether the project is a piece of shit and the tech is absolutely terrible, doesn't matter. If you have a community who will buy and never sell, Cardano will go up. But I would look at ADA to Bitcoin, and you should do this really with almost all your coins. ADA to Bitcoin doesn't look great, right? Compare that to like Sol Bitcoin. ADA BTC to me looks a bit like over here, September 2020. Had its pump, came back, bit more pain, and then it starts to get moving. I wouldn't be surprised if it just chops a bit more. And I would wait really. If Cardano does make a new high against the Bitcoin chart here, and then you've made a low and a high and a higher low, and then it makes a higher high, that's when you could see Cardano have a bit of a run against BTC. I suspect that it's this diminishing returns that you're going to see on Cardano. I absolutely expect this, where it goes no higher than something like that, back down to bleeding to zero. 2018, 2021, 2025, that's it. Beautiful chart of death and destruction. Gouts, Ape coin. Just fucking horrendous. AVAX, BNO. Ape's just, I mean, on no time frame is it bullish. So yeah, I wouldn't do much with Ape, to be honest. AVAX, compare that now to Phantom, right? So AVAX is much better than Phantom, right? AVAX has broken out of its bear market range. It's currently in the same situation as Solana for me, where it's setting up nicely, it's consolidating. I think more consolidation is needed. And if it does, if it pushes up to the highs, then I would expect maybe one false breakout, Second one might be the one to buy. Again, compare it to the Bitcoin chart. Much worse comparatively, right? Not anywhere near as strong as like SOLBTC is. And you can notice that against Bitcoin, it hasn't taken out its August 2022 highs. So that means against Bitcoin, which is this is what we measure against in crypto, right? Against Bitcoin, it has not performed as well. Whereas if you just look at the USD chart, it has took out the 2022 August highs. But if your choice is, do I own Bitcoin or do I own Avalanche, you want to see it looking strong on both pairs. Everything else is just a short-term trade. Guerli, ARB. I think ARB needs more time, but so far looking pretty good. Let's get that old all-time high, chopping around at it. I think this last couple of weeks has pretty much proven that ARB isn't going to go all the way back down. I don't think. I think ARB is most likely going to stay chopping around this level. I don't think that each time it reclaims this, that means moon. I think people get excited, get bearish, get excited, bearish, and then eventually, I'd say the move will probably be up, just because we're in, again, this is all contingent on, are we in a bull market? Which I think we are. And if we are in a bull market, I think it'll eventually drift higher. But needs more time, needs more consolidation in here for me. G plus, honey. I know this one got wrecked by Coinbase listing. Yep. You all want a Coinbase listing, but you don't want what comes after a Coinbase listing. Eiffel Tower, Burj Khalifa pattern, GM. Simple, right? Down, up, down, up, down. Wait for that to end. Right, so currently it's going down, down, down. Wait for it to stop going down and stop being a piece of shit and start going up and be good tech again. But right now, I mean, the chart's just crushed. Dimbo, Solana's done. GM, Jay Schlecker watching the XRP chart going sideways right now, trying to find the entry. XRP. Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. Would not touch XRP. For me, XRP is very simple. This old pivot level, right? 53, roughly 53 cents. Below that, nothing good happens below that level for Ripple, right? Above that, then you've got upside targets. But I don't think you want to be betting on that when it's broken the weekly trend. Broke it a while ago, to be fair. It's not able to sustain any kind of price move. It had its SEC win, flushed out, lower high bounce. Again, if we stay bull market, XRP will go up because that's what XRP does. But I don't think it'll be an outperformer at all. And below 53, I wouldn't be a fan. I'd like to see some weekly closes back above 53. Haruno, thoughts on OP? Been following great project, seems to be constant. Think it still has hope. Yeah. I don't think so necessarily. I'm in the same camp with OP as I am with Arbitrum. I think they're fine. They're probably a bit overvalued. And again, they'll do okay. I just don't see them having massive upside from here. Same thing though, right? OP and ARB move roughly the same. Once Ethereum gets going and there's an Ethereum narrative, will it move higher? Sure. But where does it go? I mean, OP's already like, very high FDV. And there's a lot of token inflation. So it's 14 billion, right? 14 billion FDV, only 3 billion circulating. So there are 3.5 to 4 billion tokens left to be emitted over the next whatever number of years. And I just don't know. I just don't think the market is going to absorb all that. Because every time there's another token unlock for optimism, which probably happens every month, it's usually the way, it's yet more sell pressure into a market that, does it really care about OP? That'd be my question. Like, next unlocks. So, here we go. So there's 80 million, which is basically going to happen every month. Guess the end of every month. There's another 24 million up. So current prices. Another 80 million of potential sell pressure coming this month. And then every month thereafter. There's going to be roughly 24 million up tokens dropping out every month. And I think the market this cycle is just not going to absorb that, and it's just going to chase shinier objects with better tokenomics. Alcatan, GM. Peer, PYR, Vulcan Forged. Yeah. Not great. It's actually very similar to Chainlink, right? Very similar bottoming range to Chainlink. But look at the subtle difference, right? Let's just compare the two. Both looked extremely similar in their bottoming ranges here. But the market's telling you a totally different story about everything since that, right? Both the same bottoming range, both broke out, Why is Link so much stronger than PYR? Tells me the market cares more about Link and less about PYR. And unless there's some big shift in that, it wouldn't be my chosen coin. ECDology, ORAI is done. Vladimir, near. Near, roughly pretty much the same as Avalanche, right? They're quite similar charts. Avalanche's chart is better. I think really what matters with Near is making a new high. So it's made a low, it's made a high. It needs to form a higher low, and then if it can make a higher high, that's when you'll see finally it doing something that it should be doing, which is trending upwards. Otherwise, it could just drift sideways, bleed down, get sold into. So yeah, I wouldn't. It's not the best. It's not terrible. It's not the best. Mustafa. Injective. Injective as well. Obviously it did great. Broke its all-time high earlier than most. I don't know though whether Injective, I'm sure it will go higher at some point, but you have to think of in terms of expected value, and that's a dynamic concept. So when Injective was all the way down here at $1 and under $10, the upside was great. Your downside was limited, and if you even got in at $4, your upside was all that, 10x. Is Injective going to 10x from here to 30? I don't think so. Can it go to 100? Sure. A lot of people talk about this. Can it go to 100? I'm sure it will, probably. Have a big move up to 100, but that's like a 3x. And the downside risk is that Injective was an early bull market pump by Jump, who's the main market maker and the VCs behind it, and it just does the old bleed all the way out. False rallies and bleed out, and false rallies and bleed out. That's a very real risk. There's a real risk that Injective is just not going to go anywhere. And so, I think there's better bets. I think there's more asymmetric bets than buying something that's all the way up where Injective is. GD on. One cat. I hate these coins that fucking... Worst thing you can do is put a fucking number at the start of your ticker name, because then people can't find it on TradingView. That's such a rookie mistake. Shock. Yeah, so not much more needs to be said there. Bad coin. Purple JBL, ONDO. ONDO, I talked about in my trading analysis thread earlier. Lots of new coins, and there's not an unlimited supply of liquidity, so there's 30 billion FDV of new projects. There hasn't been 30 billion of new inflows. There's been 15 billion of stable coins flowed in, and it's not an equivalency, right? $1 doesn't equal $1. But is there enough demand to actually make ONDO go higher? I don't know. I see the downside risks as being greater, because this can go well, but it can also go down and down and down and down and then break into a big run, because it only launched less than a month ago. So if I go to a daily chart, this is the fractal that you want to look at. Go and look at AVAX on the Binance chart. So if you look at AVAX, this is one of the ways that a lot of these launches can go, where they have their initial move, their initial pump and launch and hype, and then they bleed. Now obviously AVAX eventually did fucking really well, but it had to bleed for nearly 4 months. ONDO is what? Less than a month in? And so it can very easily just bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed and then have a massive run. But I wouldn't be necessarily a big fan of it here. Rabies, 0xn, another fucking project. Oh no, yeah, zero does come up, that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to deck screener. 0x number. Wow. When did they cure cancer? 3 million market cap shitcoin. Protect your privacy, expand your reach. Efficiently handle SMS and calls the virtual numbers. Okay. OTC? What? So did it used to be called OTC? Because I remember OTC. So have they changed the ticker? I'd need to know more about that. Does OTC still exist? OTC is probably down at 0. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But did they change? So did they do a token swap from OTC to 0xn and pivot their project? If so, looks pretty good from here. You know, it's a 3 mil market cap coin, so what can you do? Like, there's only so much TA you can do on it. Obviously, I'd like it to form a higher low. But if it's a 3 mil market cap coin and it's eventually going to be a 50 mil market cap coin, it might just keep going up. This isn't one to trade, in my opinion. This is one to buy a bit and put it in your portfolio if you've done research on it. FX Tradism, LYXE. I never know how to say this one. LYXE. Luxor, isn't it? Luxo. That's it. We do this one every week, and it still looks shit. Yeah. It looks like MATIC, only worse, and MATIC's not good. So, yeah. Other stuff is better, I would say. Adrian, ask me that and ask Michael, please. I'm only doing requests here. Zeph, TRUEBIT. Is this only listed on MEXC? Yeah. TRUEBIT. Fuck me. Make your tickers easier, projects. Terrible. They make stuff so hard. If it's hard to find on fucking TradingView, how do you expect people to ape it? So, in general, I don't like projects that have existed for a long time and they're only listed on MEXC and like Bitmart's basically, you might as well not be listed. So the only exchange it's on that has any kind of volume is MEXC, and MEXC, like, you can get listed on MEXC for a fucking packet of crisps and a Coke Zero. It's just a fucking dog shit exchange, pure scam. And to me, it's a big red flag when something's only on MEXC. It's just a red flag. Dragos, AITECH. AITECH. So the MEXC chart has more price history. Same thing. Good tech, I guess. Going up. You said that you wanted to see it against the Bitcoin chart as well. Yeah. Looks decent. Without knowing much about it, it's hard to say. I would say that this hype run, if I go back to the actual USD chart, I would say this initial run is done. And so you had your low and a high, formed a higher low, it's moved up into a higher high, from these lows back in December, it went up 6x, okay. Enough for people to take profit. Not crazy. It's not like 10, 20x, but wouldn't be surprised if this thing has to like fall down a bit, form a higher low, and then go higher later. Would I buy in here? Not without having done, you'd have to have done some deep research into it and understand why you're buying it. Legit. Yeah. Modulus, just keep an eye on it. There's no way of farming it for airdrop as far as I know. Stoffy, can you look at fetch? Sure can. I heard there was a bunch of FUD around fetch that they were bankrupt. I don't know how the fuck they've gone bankrupt. Probably just FUD. But fetch was the one I talked about, right? So I talked about it when we were over here. Said this gap wouldn't get filled. Gap didn't get filled. Said it would probably take out this high. It took out that high. Said people would probably round trip their whole trade. They're probably going to round trip their whole trade. So it's following that so far. I would probably want to see it go lower, right? And form a higher low. To me, this doesn't look like a bottom yet. This looks like just slow, steady selling. And eventually there should be some kind of final move down and then a bit of sideways. And then it starts to go up. I would wait for that and wait for it to start breaking back up again. From there, it can just go fucking straight to the moon. But that's probably going to take several weeks, months even. Looked at Near already, Satish. Karan asked me that in the Ask Michael channel. Fan of VGX. On Gate, he said. Yeah. You don't want to buy the Voyager token, bro. Fuck me. That's just fucked. SEO, Swift coin. I mean, that's a messy chart. There we go. Oh my fucking... Wow. What the fuck? No. This is... This is one of the worst charts I've ever seen. Easily. And so, to me, this just looks like a pump and dump. That every time the market looks good, they pump it, retail ape in, they dump on them, dump on them, dump on them, dump on them, dump. Yeah, no. Klaus PEPE, GM. So, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This was the level, must not lose for PEPE. Lost it. Now it's doomed to many weeks or months of shitty sideways dead action, and then it'll do nothing, and then all of a sudden it'll go, because it's just a meme, right? It's just a meme. So I would imagine that's most likely what's going to happen on PEPE, or maybe it can move up a little bit and down a bit, but I think eventually, if it has a move, it's going to just come all at once. And it's only going to have a hype cycle. And yeah, I'm not bullish on it. Mr. Jackie, Magic. Grinding up. Look, I don't know what the long-term fucking outlook for this is, but I would say the way it's sort of grinding up in this upward sloping accumulation type of channel, and the fact that it set a low in 22 and then a high, then a higher low, crucially, I would say it could make, and it probably can make, a new high at some point. And from there, who knows? Is it going to make it a higher low and be a good coin and go higher later? But I would say there's a decent chance that it can make a new high at least. From there, I don't know. Kalashnikov, METIS. METIS. Yeah, METIS, to me, it just had this straight fucking up only move because the layer 2 hype plus airdrop farming kind of Ponzi-nomics. Is it going to sustain and then become an even bigger and better project? Don't know. The jury's out on that one. To me, the risk of these is always too high. I would never buy this because the risk of this is that it does what a lot of these coins do after a big pump. Aptos is your best example. If you go to a daily, go back to early 2023, is this, right? Where it retraces the entire pump in an excruciating bleed that takes far longer than the pump took. That would be the risk of METIS. And so the risk is that, and that would always lead me away from actually trading it. Yeah, unless you have, you know, fundamental research or whatever to do it, that's my view. Artsy, Ocean. Ocean's okay. It moved up. It never took out its highs. It sort of, well, it kind of double topped. It's forming sort of a range within a range, like a box here. You want to see, under no circumstances do you want to see Ocean go below that black line, previous support, dip below it, got above it. It needs to stay above that. And if it can then move up into the top corner here, the next breakout from there might be decent, right? Obviously, to be exact, you probably would first have a false breakout, and then a second breakout might sustain. So yeah, overall, this isn't a bad one. This is potentially forming quite a nice kind of ascending triangle, if you look at it this way as well, where you've got this double top. If it does follow this, you know, anything like this, it can go lower, but if it follows anything like this path where it pushes again, that's usually a pretty bullish sign. But you would have to give it, you know, I would buy the breakout up here. I wouldn't touch it down here necessarily. And I would just trade it. H, Prezioso, GM, Doge. Is it an accumulation? No. Doge is rough. So that's the only place that you have a decent risk reward at Doge, is if it goes back into support again. Your odds there, at least your downside is limited, right? Weekly close below this level, you cut it. And then your upside is potentially, you know, if Doge has a big move. From here, I see equal odds of it going up and down. So to me, it's not, there's no asymmetry there for me. Mohammed, GM, say. Yeah, say had a nice move up. I still think say is going to go lower. Something that would, you know, it would have to break above this previous high here to change that. Unless it breaks above there, I think it's just going to likely drop and then have a big run. I do think say has a big run, but I think there's probably more selling to come in the short term. Shrody 0x0. Yeah, that's getting into being quite a messy chart. So exhaustion, best case scenario is this is support and it holds, but that would take, you know, a lot of several weeks really of consolidation and then a breakout. I don't see it reversing and going to new highs from here. I think the trend has been lost, right? The uptrend that it was having, as you can see here, it had an interim low, pushed up, broke it, and that's on a weekly. So if you're just looking at the weekly market structure of 0x0, it was in an uptrend. It has now broken that uptrend. So any bounce, you're expecting first a lower high than a lower low. So there's a lot of work it needs to do to fix that. And to me, that takes time, where it goes sideways and then starts to move up. If it forms a consolidation like this and then it breaks higher, that's when you can start looking at upside targets. Rose is done. Risky choice, OGN. Origin. So, I mean, it's just kind of grinding higher and higher and higher. So quite often these can be setting up for a big breakout. But then also I'd look at it and say, it hasn't really managed to do much after we had a 12-week up-only easy mode. And most crucially, it made a new low. It made a new all-time low in the bear market. That's not good. That doesn't fill me with confidence. That means that whoever is investing in Origin didn't even want to support the fucking old all-time low. So even after it went down basically 99%, when it went down 96%, people still weren't willing to buy it, and it had to go down 98 for them to actually get interested. I would say whatever move it has will just be a lower high, and that's probably it. Ada done. Frank P hex. Or is it just, I just do hex, don't I, and find it against the pulse chain. Hex to pulse. Holding up okay. I would say if it stays above there, could be alright, but when you see these kind of flat bottoms, I would usually expect it to bleed. So for me, I wouldn't touch it right here. Probably can trade it just with very simple trend line. If it can break from that, come back, and then start to move, then you could see a nice breakout. But you'd want to see it break up first, then retrace back, because people will usually buy that first trend line breakout. Usually they'll suffer. And then if it starts to consolidate like there, it's probably a good sign. But the risk of it just rolling over here and going lower before eventually having a run, as a trader, you have to consider both possibilities. Mescanas Uni. One of the best projects, one of the worst tokens. So yeah, the uni token's just dog shit. And until the team do some kind of fee switch where they actually allow token value to accrue to holders, it's not worth holding. And you can see how the market has voted. It's just trapped forever in this fucking range. Will it go higher at some point? Sure. We get a bull market, no doubt. You'll see, boom, oh, Uniswap's great, and then fucking, that literally could be Uniswap's bull market. Davidos GM. DOT. You saw some big players on X saying it's the future. It's the future of fucking being poor. Absolute piece of shit project, but I don't care what anyone says about DOT. To me, it looks the same as Phantom or Near or AVAX or any of these, and it looks worse than them. AVAX is way better. It's just yet another 2021 zero interest rate policy, too much money floating around, launch any project, pump it to insane valuations, and now even when it's down here, even when it's down 99%, it's still got a multi-billion-dollar market cap because of brutal inflation. Like DOT's still in the top 15. Still a $10 billion fucking project. It's just, fuck that. I just would never invest in something like that. Foxy Trader, PENDLE already done. Surly, SSV. So this was the liquid staking. One of the liquid staking projects. That's not bad. That's not bad. Just keep it simple. Weekly market structure. Right? You've got your low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Stay above $21 on a weekly basis. And SSV should be a good bet if you are that way inclined. And so if you think that liquid staking can take off, or restaking I should say, which I do, I think that can be, you know, a potential Ponzi-nomic. It's 200 mil market cap, so it's not a crazy valuation. And it's got an okay chart. I mean, just from a pure risk reward perspective, your risk is limited. Your downside risk is limited to a weekly market structure break, and your reward is, well, who knows where it goes, right? Can it become $1 billion project, which would be a 5x? Maybe. 5x from here would be almost 150, be about 140. So you do have asymmetry there if you think that that's a good narrative. I don't own any. Don't know if I'll buy any, but not bad. Mason, ICP. Yeah, a lot of people talking about ICP, it's moved up after having literally the worst chart in crypto history. It's rallied off its lows. It's consolidating up here. Seems all right. I mean, just purely from price action perspective, it's impulsed higher and it's compressing. I would wait for this to break, right? Because if it doesn't, it can just bleed, as we've seen a bunch of projects do. If it can actually break out from that, I think it can have a nice second leg. And I would just trade it, and I would try get long and ride it up a bit. I wouldn't have any conviction to actually hold ICP, because I think it's just a dog shit cash grab. Dutch region, TOKENFI. It's not great, is it? Is there more price history anywhere? Yeah. So, seems like a new launch, which isn't the worst. New launch projects. And it's a bit further on than something like ONDO. It launched in November. So it's December, January, February. It's 3 months in. So that's not bad. A couple of things I'd want to see. Break out and hold above this level. Right? If it breaks and holds above that level, that could be the start of a bigger run. Whether it does that now, I don't know. Or if it does it fucking 2 months from now, because it could just bleed and then do the same thing. I don't know when it's going to do it, so that's why you just wait. Set your alert. Wait for a daily close at that level. And then maybe it's something of interest. Nikolai, Blur. I think I talked about Blur already, didn't I? My plan on Blur is simple. If it comes back to this support, I'll buy it, targeting the highs. If not, I'll let others trade it. It's not one for me. The GSD, TRB. Wrecked. They've just fucked it. I just don't see how. I mean, so here's the thing. Perception is everything. When you look at this chart, what odds do you would you put on it actually making a new all-time high? Like practically zero. You can't find any examples. I'd be very surprised if there are any examples of a coin that does this and then makes a new all-time high above it, above that nasty of a wick. And then as a trader or an investor, that's what you think about. You're like, okay, will it go up? Sure, it'll have a bounce, no doubt. You could trade it. But are people going to buy this, targeting the 5x to new highs? It's got to be the worst thing you could buy if that's your intention, right? They've just destroyed it. Typical DWF pump and dump. 308 Vikings, Sui. Yeah, Sui keeps just grinding. Not bad. I don't know if this is the actual all-time high peak. If it is, that's very interesting as a pivot. And to me, it'd be really simple. Above that, you'll get continuation. Below that, you'll get bleed. If that is, go and cross-reference it with a bunch of charts. If that's the actual previous all-time high, not bad. But it's been up only since October. It's gone up from 37 cents to 150, so 4 or 5x off the lows. It's another one though that will suffer from massive inflation. So fully diluted value is just bad, right? It's a 1.7 market cap, but the fully diluted is 15 billion. So there's only There's only about 11 or 12% of supply that's out there. So you're going to get inflated by about 88% over the next few years. And I just don't see the market absorbing that. 48th Ronin, Tron. Fucking every week I see this and I just... Tron is just that coin. Tron's going to keep going up and I'm never going to buy it. Because I just can't buy Tron. You know, there's nothing... Because to me, just as a trader, and understanding that Tron itself is a shitcoin. The Tron network is great. It's used for a bunch of... Most USDT is transacted on Tron. But do I think Tron is going to go like 50x? No. 20x? No. 10x? No. Can it go to all-time high? Sure. But that's like 49%. So I mean, Bitcoin to all-time high is 55%. I would much rather hold Bitcoin to all-time high than Tron. So, yeah. And the reason for that is like Tron's a huge fucking market cap already. It's like top 10, top 15, 12th, right? So Tron's already 10 billion. I just don't see how it goes like massively higher. ID, Jakob, not trading a chick on good chart previewers. Want to know your opinion on 100% pump? For me, it'd probably be round tripped. Yeah. Korean exchange listing, typical DWF tactic. Probably goes a bit higher as people try to fade it initially, but I think eventually, yeah. This is not organic, and the highest probability is that it bleeds and retraces it all over time. Cattle in 4, NMR. Numeraire. So it's a third cycle coin. Yeah, these ones. Reaches a peak, fails to reach the peak, same again, fails to reach its peak. There are almost no examples of a coin that has done this. Any coin that has been a winner over 3 cycles has went above its 2018 highs in 2021. If it didn't do that, that tells me that launched in hype in the ICO boom, couldn't make it up that high in the second bull run that it was in, and third bull run. What's the chances now that it gets adoption? Not for me. Andre, VeChain. This is a real dog shit coin. VeChain had one of the fucking craziest hype runs. And again, so like this is like Numeraire, right? But this is VeChain's second market. So at some point, I'm sure it goes up. I don't expect it to go any higher than a lower high, right? And I mean, that's not bad, right? From a trade, that could be a 5, 6, 7x. But obviously, this isn't guaranteed to happen either. It could also just bleed and have zero adoption. It could have a weak pump and then bleed out. Can it actually go to all-time high? If there was any chance it's going to all-time high, it would already be much, much higher. Like, we're not exactly super early in the bull market. We're in 2024 already. So I would expect it to be like up here already if it was going to have a chance of actually hitting all-time high. So if it can't hit all-time high, focus on things that can. Because all the magic happens after all-time high. Because once you actually get to all-time high, well, that's when fucking valuations and everything goes out the window. And you're just in fantasy land price discovery, and it could go way higher than you think. But if it can't get there, it's not a good strategy to play stuff for a lower high bounce, in my opinion. Raphael, Chainlink's already done. Tool for tokenizing real world assets, yeah. Link's great. Link fits the narrative. Link's fine. I'm sure Link will do well. There's clearly people accumulating Link. I don't hate Link. I used to own Link. I used to own a bunch of Link in the last bull market. And yeah, Link can do fine. I think Link, I mean, let me see. Link's one that I could see having like an ETF, right? Obviously not next. You got Bitcoin, you'll have Ethereum. I don't think Link will be the third one, but I think it can be one of the ones that does get one. And can Link do all-time high? I think so. Can Link go to 100 in a really crazy move if the whole market goes bullish? I think so. But would I put high odds on that? Not super high odds. And that's a 5x. 5x isn't bad. But for me, that's not enough to get me interested in Link. Yeah. Sharan, Realio. Yeah, we talked about Rio a lot this year, or earlier this year. Quite nice, a fucking horrendous chart at the beginning. But since it's bear market, it's shown signs, right? It bottomed out nice and early. December 22, set a high, set a low, set a higher high. More consolidation, and away it goes. I would say broadly looks pretty good. That's a real world asset one, so it'll pump whenever that narrative takes off. Yoni, you broke the rule. Arb, Bartman. Oh, we did Arb. Lizard King, Alex USDT. There's a BRC coin. Same thing, right? Just pump out of nowhere. Would expect bleed. First thing I would expect is just that. Is it going to go higher? Maybe. Don't know much about the project. Not particularly bullish on Bitcoin DeFi. I'm still pretty bullish on ordinals, but I think the actual NFTs themselves will do best. Alex Lab is what? 200 mil market cap. Yeah. You can do the inscriptions on that. Not the worst. Not the worst. If BTC DeFi is something that's actually going to stay around, it's not too bad. But with the chart, I would have to see a lot more consolidation on this, because the risk is always that it was just because for everyone telling you that Bitcoin DeFi is a thing, it could just be that you're giving your money to people and you're giving them more BTC. You're giving your precious Bitcoin, your precious dollars, and you're buying some shitcoin that just bleeds to zero. So be careful with those. Dr. GM done that one. Haruno done that one. MTMT done ID. 4KT. TYBG on base god. This is going to be a mess, isn't it? It's alright. Yeah, I mean, so the way I look at it is meme coins on these chains. If you're not in early, right? If you didn't catch any of these like 50x pumps, do I want to buy a hyper volatile shitcoin that's down 40%? No, not for me. Like if I miss a 50x from there and it's probably 100x from the lows, if I've missed that, I just leave it. I'm like, because it's just a meme coin, right? Willie, RLC. RLC. This one's okay. It kind of fits into AI narrative as well. Sort of completing its bottoming range, although I guess technically it has to clear these March 2022 highs. So it's in a big accumulation range. But, of course, we don't know if that's accumulation yet. So you would want to see it consolidate more. And then if it can break out from that, I would expect that whenever it breaks out from that, you could see a bigger move. This chart. Well, there we go. So remember I said about TRB, does anything ever make its new high? RLC did. But it took 4 years for that to happen. So is this going to go for a third one? I really doubt it. It just seems like a pump and dump each cycle. Leggy, ZTX. Not really enough price history to have a strong opinion, but that should be a higher low, right? It shouldn't go below there if it's bullish. It ran up, made a high, made a higher low. So if you're bullish on the project, there's your invalidation. Shouldn't go below that level. Whether you want to buy it or trade it or whatever, that's up to you. You'll have to do your own research, but hard to say otherwise. If you want to use the bands, right? The bands have gone red, they've gone green. I'd probably like to see them go red again and then buy next time they go green. Right? You've seen me talk about this pattern over and over again. Red, green, that's a trap sometimes, not all the time. Drops back down, they go red, everyone gets bearish, get green again, and then boom, away we go. Renders done, Steve. Cybra from Mindagus. Deck screener. So, like we talked about, that's what the risk is on any of these coins that have pumped recently. You just have this excruciating bleed. And so, yeah, that's a coin that's had its pump. Is it going to do it again? I don't know. But typically, after that happens, like you can see all the way over here, it has to go down and sideways and consolidate for quite a while. So, you know, this would need to go, you know, a best case scenario sideways and then start to go up again. It's only a 3 mil market cap coin, so to me, I don't know, is this just a meme coin? Empowering decentralization secured by AI, cyber. Yeah. Like, if this was anything even remotely real and not just a cash grab, there's no way that a L2 that has AI should be 3 million, right? That means nobody cares. To me, it just looks like a standard pump and dump. David, hello. That looks like a pretty solid lower high complacency bounce, right? You get your trend up to the top, sell off, break the structure, lower high bounce. So to me, I would expect this to bleed. That would be it. And then, if it can reaccumulate, start to go up again, then it might be of interest. But to me, that needs several months. ONDO, done. GTC. Gitcoin? Yeah, fuck that. Gitcoin's not a bad project, but chart shit. Tiago, GM. Here's my view on MAGA Trump. What do you think? Sector, meme coin used to elections. Up only so far, 176% up from the last correction. Yeah. Narrative, Trump. Yeah, 100%. I'm annoyed because I looked at MAGA. I looked at the coin several months ago and didn't buy it. But yeah, I think it's quite an obvious narrative, which doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. But like, if people want to bet on Trump, and he's certainly going to be in the news all year, and attention is everything. So yeah, to me, I would wait for, because the way I view this is, if you want to buy some Trump coin, which I might do, you want to wait until it feels bad. So there's going to be something, right? Everyone at the moment's like, Trump's going to win the election. There's going to be some point this year where it looks like he won't, or there's something bad happens or whatever. And the coin will react to that because the coin is just a bet on him. And so, like we had here, you get a 50% pullback. I would wait for that. And you had one over here where it was even more than 50%, where you had a 75% pullback. I would say that if you get another 50% pullback, which right now would be down to there, you know, and it might not be from there, it might go higher first, but if then there's some like bad news and boom, away it goes down, that's a better place to take a bet. Right here, I just don't see any edge in buying it right here. You know, you're buying in after just crazy up only price. Martin, I think I heard you bought it at 20 cents multi-bit. No, bought multi-bit at like 6 cents or 7 cents the first time. Did re-enter over here and then closed it. But originally, if you go back in trading analysis, I bought it here. It was in this consolidation, 6 cents. Rallied up, sold some there, rebought some around there, sold it again there, and it's just bleeding. So white path I drew out a couple of weeks ago. White path's what I'd expect. Down, dead, sideways, and if there's any life in it, maybe it'll go again at a later date. Eric, Beam. Beam. So, launch pattern up into a consolidation, sort of a down and kind of compressing, sort of a flat bottom, which is slightly bearish. I guess if you include the wicks, you could say it's in a pennant sort of formation, for being technical about it. Beam is an alright project from what I see. I would like to see some strength out of it if it moves up and actually shows that it's not going to go lower at this point. I would wait then for it to show a bit of life and go from there. So I would like to see strength from it first, Right, you got a low, high, higher low. If you can make a higher high, higher low, and it starts to move up, probably a better risk reward. OG Matt, Strax. Broken chart. Yeah, that's probably going to go back to the lows. Seems like there's a bunch of coins. I mean, in best case scenario, what you'll see with Strax is like it does this. It comes back down, reaccumulates, and then goes. So we'd have to like bleed, and then pump. But to me, that might be the worst thing I've ever seen. 2020 or 2018, 2021. Remember, the biggest bull run in history with insane levels of money printing. Everyone locked in their house, all gambling on shitcoins, and that's all it could muster. This thing, like, that might literally be it. That might be the worst coin ever. Andreas, Casper. We did Casper already, but I'll briefly revisit it. Casper, it's had its run up all the way back in November, so from that perspective, it's had its time to consolidate. It's held the weekly bands really well. That should be the bottom, and so if you like Casper from a risk reward perspective, if you could get an entry in these daily wicks here, or weekly wicks, sorry, then it might be good. But I mean, that could just be it. It might be done. Might be done with its reaccumulation and ready to go again. So I would say the other thing you could look at is this is a low, this is a high. If it pulls back into a higher low there, you could see like an early Livermore accumulation forming. That might be one way to play it. Hello, already done, GM. Bill Ben, Osmo, so osmosis. Looks alright. Osmosis is a decent dex on Cosmos. Rallied off the lows. Do I think it's got like much future potential? Not really. You know, it looks okay. It's gone up. It's forming a consolidation after a move up. Just from a technical perspective, can it go higher? Sure. I just don't. Nothing really excites me about it as a project. You know, it's just a dex. And so is the market going to care about it? Long term, I don't really think so. We live in life. Kudos. Nice. We talked about Kudos a few weeks ago. And I said that when it has these straight moves up, be careful on the pullback because it might just go into this bleed pattern and all the way back down. It's invalidated that, which is really good. So now, nice and simple for Kudos. There's like your long-term support. So support, broke it, resistance, came back above it, held the support for now. There seems to be quite big resistance up here, as you can see from this weekly level, even the previous launch price and the most recent weekly. So wouldn't buy it here. Would ideally like to see it come back and buy support one more time if you're lucky enough to get it. But yeah, that's, to me, this move up is telling me that the bottom's in at least, and that this should act as a higher low. But I wouldn't like to buy it there. I'd like to buy some kind of pullback if I was bullish on it. Nicholas, 2. You broke the rules. Adam's lawnmower. Honk. No, so Honk fails my first test, which it's only listed on MEXC and Poloniex, which is fucking trash. It seems like it's just a new listing. Oh no, it's not. Oh my god. What is this fucking piece of shit? It's really hard to have an opinion on this. It's so new. And it's... Yeah, I mean... I can't really say. Would need to do research on the project. Tiger White, Trump 2024. Is this another Trump coin? Yeah. This is not... This one's not going to go anywhere, I don't think. Looks fine, had a pump and all that, but why is this better than the MAGA coin, which has existed longer and has more holders, more support behind it, bigger market cap? Like, why is this one going to be the one? You know, there's not going to be 2 or 3 or 4 winning Trump meme coins. So maybe this is the one. But to me, MAGA has stood the test of time for far longer, right? It's existed for longer. It's 100 mil market cap. It's up, consolidate, up, consolidate, up. So just based on that, I wouldn't bet on the second best Trump meme coin. Base Hunter, GM, Chromia. Well, you can't say much more than that. Up only, eh? It's okay. There's not really anything you can do here other than just let it go up. I mean, I just would never buy into this. Eventually, there'll be some kind of top. And then all you're looking for is, there's a low. You're just looking for a higher low to form. So if it goes even higher, wherever it goes to, you're just waiting for a higher low. Wait for it to ideally confirm. Buy wherever that is. Which, again, we can't predict the future. Don't know when that's going to be. But there needs to be some kind of pullback. Quitter, IMX. Yeah, Immutable X is decent. Really nice chart. Moved up, consolidating. So this is one of the better L2s. This is like the main L2 for gaming, as far as I'm aware. And seems good. I would like, though, because there's a big gap below, right? You've got a bunch of weekly candles that haven't been filled in. I would like to see this support confirmed at least one more time, and ideally I would want to see a sweep. So maybe it false breakouts, comes down, sweeps that, goes sideways. But just for me personally, I would be hesitant with all this below. I would like to see it tested at least once more. Hussam, GM. Mina. Mina, not bad. Pretty good. Kind of trying to break out of its bear market range. Met resistance so far. Seem to be pretty heavy selling there. I would say you've got a risk of it falling back inside and having to chop more. I would like to see it come up here. To me, to be honest, I would wait for it to make that high and then buy if there's a pullback. Hard to say. I think the market can't really decide whether this is a good coin or not. You know, it's not exactly showing massive strength. Other coins are. It's came up. It's off the lows, but it's not like blowing anyone's hair back. It's all right. It's all right. But I think Mina was mostly just... the reason Mina rallied like a bunch of them was in December... After like Solana gone up and Injective and all had been pumping, people just kind of looked around and goes, okay, what layer 1 and what layer 2 hasn't pumped yet? And that's why Mina pumps and Immutable X pumps and a bunch of them pump. Near and all that. And it's like, which ones are actually going to stick around and amount to anything? That still remains to be seen. So, that's it. GM. An hour and 40 minutes. 15 tags in the live chat. What's the bet that everyone's spamming more tickers at me for no fucking reason? I'm never going to cover the extra tickers. You know this. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. GM. Tomorrow we'll do Casual Fridays. 5 p.m. UTC. See you then. And if you missed any of these coins, the stream will be posted later. The timestamps will be posted probably tomorrow. Thanks for joining. GM. Any questions? Tag me in Ask Michael. And I'll see you all tomorrow. GM.